it's well known that a secure energy supply is crucial to South Africa's economic growth. That has again been encouraged through calls for the use of more renewables. Stellenbosch University Professor Mark Swilling says renewables could help strengthen the economy post the COVID-19 pandemic. He's joining us live this afternoon by Skype from Stellenbosch. Prof, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you for being with us. So in your latest piece that you've written, you refer to green economic recovery. What would a green economic recovery look like?
A green economic recovery is essentially a recovery driven by investments in a wide range of so-called green infrastructures, the most important being renewable energy. But it would also include things like sustainable sewage systems, sustainable waste systems, and so on.
And key to this conversation, of course, is the just energy transition. The likes of the Eskom CEO, Andre de Ruyter, have also spoken about how crucial that is, especially with Eskom's ever-recurring problems around energy supply that is consistent and reliable. When you look at the road travelled between when we first started having this conversation to where we are today, do you still have the faith that we can make it happen?
Well, Eskom doesn't have much option. Eskom has to close down most of its coal-fired power station by the early 2040s, over the next 20 years. And it faces the question, what will replace those? Because if it just closes the coal-fired power stations, we're all going to run out of power. So if it needs investors in new coal-fired power stations, you're not going to find them because the biggest investors are withdrawing from coal. So the best option is renewable energy, which is now cheaper than coal. And there are many investors interested in renewable energy because it relates to climate change.
And has the investment, the payout from all the billions of dollars and rands that have been poured into renewables, has it all been worth it to date? Can we point to it and say it's been tangible?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's over 200 billion rand invested in renewables. A large number of projects have been completed on time and on budget. And renewables are putting large amounts of energy into the grid as we speak. Solar PV farms as well as wind farms. And they're spread out around the country. And when you drive around, you see them. So we've proven we can build them on budget, in time, and they are generating electricity efficiently. They could generate more, but they're not allowed to generate more. There's a cap on the total amount that they're allowed to put on the grid.
And Prof, one of the examples you've pointed to as far as COVID-19 is related and looking to the future and the role of renewables in a new world essentially is how the Germans, in tabling their financial recovery plan, have set aside quite a decent amount that will go towards recovery as far as climate change, innovation and digitization is concerned. Where does the South African government take to give to that, given the many and sometimes more immediate competing interests, as it were?
Yeah, sure, there are many competing interests, but no economy can function without energy. So you have to invest in energy in order to achieve everything else. The only question is, what energy source are you going to invest in? And renewables actually would attract a lot of investment that is not government investment. It attracts a lot of investment from development finance institutions around the world and within South Africa. A lot of private sector funding is looking to invest in renewables. So if you go the renewables route, you are not as dependent on government as you would if you went the nuclear or the coal route. So it sucks in, it crowds in a lot of counter investments or complementary investments, which would make the post-COVID economic recovery really reliable, because renewables provide jobs quickly, which is a short-term multiplier, and they create the assets in the long term that one needs to replace the closing coal-fired power stations, and that's a long-term multiplier. There isn't any other major infrastructure investment that achieves both of those simultaneously.
Professor Mark Swilling, thank you so much for being with us on ENCA this afternoon.